Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're talking all about Jefferson Nickels, one of the most popular and valuable coins in U.S. history. While many people see them as just regular 5-cent coins, the truth is some Jefferson Nickels are rare, collectible, and worth far more than their face value. From key dates to mint marks and era nickels, certain pieces can sell for big money in the coin market. That's why I want you to stay with me and watch this entire video, because I'll be covering the details every coin collector needs to know. If you have old Jefferson Nickels in your collection, in jars, or even in pocket change, you might already have a valuable coin without realizing it. So make sure you watch until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on rare nickels, pennies, dimes, quarters, and all kinds of valuable coins. Let's get started. First up, the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is a coin that many collectors consider both fascinating and valuable. When we talk about Jefferson Nickels, we're looking at one of the most widely collected U.S. coin series, and the 1962 nickel from the Denver Mint stands out because of its history, its mintage, its role in American coinage, and of course its potential value to collectors and investors today. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark, exploring why it is considered valuable, what makes it collectible, how many were produced, and why collectors actively seek out examples of this coin. Stay with me through this full discussion, because by the end of this video, you will clearly understand the importance, value, and desirability of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel features a left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained largely unchanged for decades, making coins like the 1962 nickel instantly recognizable. The 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is especially important because it comes from the Denver Mint, and Denver Mint coins were produced in large numbers, but often show striking differences compared to their Philadelphia counterparts. Collectors know that when looking at Denver Mint Jefferson Nickels, details like strike sharpness, die varieties, and minting quality can have a major impact on value. Now let's focus specifically on the 1962 D Jefferson nickel. The Denver Mint struck over 280 million nickels that year, making it a high mintage coin. At first glance, one might think that such a large mintage would make the 1962 D Jefferson nickel common and not particularly valuable. But that is not the full story. The truth is, not all of these coins have survived in high condition, and condition plays a massive role in determining value. Circulated examples of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel might not appear valuable at first, but coins that have been well preserved, coins that show strong luster, sharp strikes, and clean surfaces, can command significant premiums in the collector market. This is why the 1962 D Jefferson nickel is considered valuable. It is not just about how many were minted, but how many exist today in collectible condition. Collectors especially look for 1962 D Jefferson nickels in mint state grades. A nickel from 1962 with the Denver D mintmark that has never entered circulation, showing no wear, retains its full original luster, and has sharp details, can be worth far more than face value. In fact, high-grade mint state examples, especially those graded with full steps on Monticello, can be extremely valuable. The term full steps refers to the steps on the Monticello design on the reverse of the Jefferson nickel. These steps are often weakly struck, and finding a coin where all of the steps are visible, distinct, and complete is rare. For the 1962 D Jefferson nickel, full steps examples are particularly scarce, making them very desirable to collectors and pushing their value much higher. This is why many coin experts consider the 1962 D Jefferson nickel one of the more challenging dates when it comes to finding quality full step examples. So, while the average circulated 1962 D Jefferson nickel might only be worth face value or slightly more, uncirculated examples and full steps examples can be worth much more. That is why collectors always take time to carefully examine their 1962 D nickels. Even a small detail, such as the presence or absence of full steps, can mean the difference between a coin worth only a few cents and a coin worth several dollars or more. For collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels, this is part of the challenge and excitement, searching through rolls, collections, or inherited coins to find that valuable 1962 D Jefferson nickel. Now, let's also consider the historical context. The year 1962 was in the middle of a changing period in U.S. coinage. Just a few years later, silver would be removed from dimes, quarters, and half dollars, and the U.S. Mint was facing increased demand for coins due to a booming economy. The nickel, being a non-silver coin, remained copper nickel, but the striking quality and production speed at the Denver Mint during this period often resulted in weak strikes. This means that fully struck coins with crisp details from 1962 are not easy to find. Again, this scarcity adds to the value of high-quality coins, especially those that still exhibit strong eye appeal after more than 60 years. The Denver Mint Mark, a small d, located on the reverse of the 1962 nickel to the right of Monticello, is an essential detail. Many casual collectors overlook the mint mark, but serious numismatists know that the mint mark can significantly affect a coin's rarity and desirability. The 1962 D Jefferson nickel is distinguished from the 1962 no-mintmark nickel, which was struck in Philadelphia, and collectors often want to assemble complete sets that include both. But for many, the Denver issue stands out because of the challenge of finding examples with strong strikes and full steps. When evaluating the value of a 1962 D Jefferson nickel, several factors come into play. The first is condition. A heavily worn coin that has circulated for decades will usually only be worth its face value of 5 cents. However, lightly circulated or uncirculated examples can command much higher values. The second factor is strike quality, particularly whether the coin has full steps on Monticello. Third, collectors also pay attention to luster, toning, and overall eye appeal. A coin with beautiful original mint luster or attractive toning can be far more desirable than a dull or heavily marked coin. Finally, any unusual errors or varieties associated with the 1962 D nickel can dramatically increase its value. Error coins are an important part of collecting Jefferson nickels, and the 1962 D nickel is no exception. Collectors are always on the lookout for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, clip planchets, or other unusual minting errors. Such errors can make a coin many times more valuable than the regular issue. For example, a 1962 D Jefferson nickel with a clear repunched mint mark or doubling on the lettering could be worth far more to a collector than the standard example. This is why searching through older nickels, including the 1962 D, remains popular. There is always a chance of discovering a valuable error variety. As we look at the long-term value of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel, it is important to recognize that collectors continue to appreciate coins that are over 60 years old. Every year that passes, fewer high-grade examples remain available, as coins become damaged, lost, or degraded. This natural reduction in supply means that demand for preserved examples continues to rise. That is why the 1962 D Jefferson nickel remains valuable today and will likely become even more sought after in the future. So to summarize, the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is a coin worth paying attention to. It is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series. It was produced in large numbers by the Denver Mint, but high-quality examples, especially uncirculated and full steps coins, are much scarcer than the raw mintage figures suggest. Error varieties and eye-appealing examples can be very valuable, and collectors continue to search for these coins in hopes of finding a rare treasure. Whether you are new to coin collecting or an experienced numismatist, the 1962 D Jefferson nickel deserves your attention, because it is indeed a valuable coin that holds both historical and monetary importance. Next up, the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark is a coin that collectors and coin enthusiasts should not overlook, because this coin is part of a long-running series that continues to attract interest, and many examples can be far more valuable than their face value suggests. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938, and the 1992 nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint is an important piece of that history. In this video, we are going to explore in detail the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, why it is valuable, what collectors search for, how condition and strike quality affect its value, and why you should pay close attention to this nickel if you come across it in your change, in a collection, or in old rolls of coins. By staying with me through this full discussion, you will understand exactly why the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark is a coin that deserves attention and is truly valuable for collectors. When we talk about Jefferson Nickels, we are looking at one of the most iconic American coins. The obverse features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, while the reverse shows Monticello, Jefferson's famous home. This design remained largely unchanged for decades, and in 1992, the nickel still carried Schlag's original design. But what makes the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark stand out is not just the design. It is the combination of mintage, condition rarity, and the role it plays in modern numismatics. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 390 million nickels in 1992 with the P mintmark. At first glance, that seems like a very large number, suggesting that the coin is common and not valuable. But collectors know that value is not determined only by how many coins were struck. Instead, it comes down to how many have survived in excellent condition, how many display strong strike quality, and how many show unique or rare characteristics, such as full steps on Monticello or mint errors. These are the factors that make the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark valuable today. Condition is the first and most important factor. A heavily circulated 1992 P Jefferson nickel that has been in pocket change for over 30 years is usually worth only face value. But coins that have been preserved in uncirculated condition, showing no wear, retaining their original mint luster, and displaying sharp details, can be worth significantly more. Collectors pay attention to mint state examples because even a common date coin like the 1992 P nickel can command strong prices when found in top condition. One of the biggest areas of focus is the full steps designation. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, the Monticello building features steps leading up to the entrance. These steps are often weakly struck, and on most nickels from 1992, the steps appear flat or incomplete. A coin with all of the steps fully visible, with distinct separation lines, is classified as a full steps Jefferson nickel. For the 1992 P nickel, full steps examples are scarce, and they can be quite valuable. Collectors know how rare it is to find a coin from the Philadelphia Mint in that year with complete, sharp steps, and that is why such examples are highly sought after. Strike quality and luster are other major points of interest. The Philadelphia Mint in 1992 produced a huge number of coins, and mass production often led to weak strikes or nickels with less detail. Finding a coin that shows crisp lettering, sharp detail on Jefferson's portrait, and full detail on Monticello is not easy, and that rarity is reflected in higher value. A 1992 P Jefferson nickel with blazing luster, sharp strike, and full steps can easily be worth many times more than its face value, making it a valuable find for collectors. Error coins also add another layer of value. The 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark is known to exist with various minting errors, including double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mintmarks, and clipped planchets. Collectors love error coins because they are unique and add character to a collection. A 1992 P nickel with a strong double die or another dramatic error can be extremely valuable compared to a regular example. This is why searching through 1992 nickels is exciting, because the possibility of finding an error variety always exists, and that can make the coin much more valuable. Another reason why the 1992 P Jefferson nickel is valuable is because it is over 30 years old now. While that may not seem ancient compared to earlier nickels from the 1940s or 1950s, time has already reduced the supply of high-grade examples. Many have been lost, spent, or worn down in circulation. As collectors continue to build complete Jefferson nickel sets, demand for higher quality 1992 nickels with the P mintmark will remain strong. Scarcity in top condition always drives value upward, and that is exactly the case here. Historical context also plays a role in its collectability. The year 1992 was in the early 1990s period, just before the United States Mint made changes to coin production and designs later in the decade. The nickel at this point was still the classic Jefferson nickel design, unchanged since 1938, which means the 1992 issue represents the final decades of that long-standing design. Many collectors like to gather coins from this transitional period, knowing that just over a decade later, the design would be modified. That gives the 1992 P nickel an additional place in history and adds to its value. Another factor worth noting is eye appeal. A coin does not need to be perfect to be valuable if it has strong visual qualities. Coins with attractive toning, strong luster, or minimal contact marks often bring higher prices than dull or damaged examples. Collectors value coins that not only grade high technically but also look appealing, and this makes the search for premium 1992 P Jefferson nickels even more challenging and rewarding. So when we ask, why is the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark valuable, the answer comes down to a combination of factors. It is valuable because high-grade examples are not easy to find. It is valuable because full steps examples are rare. It is valuable because rare varieties can transform an ordinary coin into a unique treasure. It is valuable because collectors continue to demand it as part of their Jefferson nickel sets. And it is valuable because even though millions were struck, only a fraction remain today in the condition collectors truly want. For anyone who collects coins, especially Jefferson nickels, the 1992 P nickel is an essential piece. It is a reminder that even modern coins from the 1990s can hold value far above their face value when preserved properly. It is also a reminder to always check your change and your collections closely. That nickel you find could be a rare full steps example, a beautiful mint state coin, or even an rare variety that turns out to be much more valuable than you expect. That is why the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark should never be ignored. It may look like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but it has the potential to be worth far more than that. Collectors recognize its value, and as time goes on, more and more people will discover just how valuable this nickel can be. The combination of condition rarity, full step scarcity, error potential, and collector demand all come together to make the 1992 P Jefferson nickel a truly valuable coin that deserves your attention. Next up, the 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is a coin that every collector should pay attention to, because while it might seem like just another 5-cent piece at first glance, it carries real value and importance in the world of coin collecting. In this video, we're going to spend time exploring the 1963 Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint in detail, talking about its history, its mintage, its role in the Jefferson nickel series, what makes it collectible, and why this coin is valuable for anyone who is building a collection or searching through older nickels. If you have a 1963 D Jefferson nickel, or if you're hunting for one, then you need to know exactly what makes it special and valuable. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his home, on the reverse. This design remained largely unchanged for decades, and by the time we reached 1963, the nickel was already a well-established coin in American circulation. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels in 1963, including the version with the D mintmark that we're focusing on here. But while the mintage numbers were large, the real story lies in the surviving quality of these coins. The 1963 D Jefferson nickel is valuable because high-quality examples, especially those with sharp strikes and full steps, are much harder to find than the raw mintage figures suggest. The Denver Mint produced over 276 million nickels in 1963. With such a high mintage, many collectors might think that this coin is common and therefore not valuable. But collectors know that value depends on condition, strike quality, and rarity of certain varieties, not just mintage. Millions of those coins circulated heavily for decades, and today, finding well-preserved examples is a challenge. Circulated coins often show wear, dull surfaces, and weak details, which means they are only worth face value. But the story changes completely when we talk about uncirculated coins, coins with mint luster, coins with sharp details, and coins that display the full steps designation. These are the examples that make the 1963 D Jefferson nickel valuable. The full steps designation is one of the most important factors. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, The steps of Monticello are supposed to be clearly struck and fully separated. In practice, however, most coins from 1963, especially from the Denver Mint, show weak steps. Finding a 1963 D nickel with all of the steps visible and distinct is very difficult, which makes such examples highly valuable. Collectors will pay strong premiums for full steps coins, and this is one of the major reasons why the 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is valuable today. Another factor is strike quality overall. The Denver Mint in 1963 was producing coins at a very fast pace to keep up with circulation demand, and the result is that many nickels have soft strikes. This means that Jefferson's hair details, Monticello's columns, and the lettering may appear faint or incomplete. Collectors always prize coins with strong strikes, and since they are scarce, these are considered more valuable. A coin from 1963 with sharp strike quality, bright luster, and no signs of wear can be worth far more than face value, making it a desirable find for any collector. Era coins add even more to the value potential of the 1963 D Jefferson nickel. Coins from this year are known to have various minting errors and varieties, such as repunched mint marks, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and off-center strikes. A repunched mint mark, for example, can make a 1963 D nickel much more valuable than the standard issue. A dramatic off-center strike or a strong double die variety could also turn an ordinary nickel into a highly collectible and valuable coin. This is why searching through rolls of older nickels, including those from 1963, can be exciting, because there's always the possibility of discovering a rare and valuable era coin. The history surrounding the 1963 Jefferson nickel is also significant. This was 1 year before the United States Mint changed coinage in 1964 to meet rising demand and prepare for the end of silver coinage in dimes, quarters, and half dollars. The nickel itself did not contain silver, but production methods and the overall coinage environment were shifting. That historical context adds meaning to coins like the 1963 D nickel, placing them at the end of an era right before the coin shortages of the mid-1960s. Collectors value coins that reflect turning points in U.S. coinage history, and that helps add to the desirability of the 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark. Another reason why the 1963 D Jefferson nickel is valuable is time itself. More than 60 years have passed since this coin was struck, and while millions were minted, many have been lost, damaged, or heavily circulated. Fewer examples remain in the pristine condition that collectors seek, and that natural scarcity drives value higher. Coins that are over half a century old and still retain their original mint luster are not easy to come by. This makes the 1963 D Jefferson nickel a valuable part of any serious Jefferson nickel collection. Collectors also pay attention to eye appeal. Beyond technical grade and strike quality, the way a coin looks plays a major role in value. A 1963 D Jefferson nickel with attractive natural toning, smooth surfaces, and strong luster can be much more desirable than one with dull or spotted surfaces. Eye appeal can push the value of a coin higher, even if the technical grade is similar. This is why collectors carefully examine each coin and often pay premiums for coins that simply look better. To sum up why the 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is valuable, it comes down to several key factors. First, the mintage was high, but condition rarity makes well-preserved coins scarce. Second, full steps examples are very rare, and collectors prize them, making them valuable. Third, era coins and varieties can turn an ordinary nickel into a much more valuable piece. Fourth, strong strike quality, luster, and eye appeal all contribute to higher values. And finally, the historical context and the fact that this coin is now over 60 years old mean that demand for surviving examples remains strong. That is why if you have a 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark, you should not overlook it. It may be a common date in circulated condition, but in uncirculated condition, with sharp details, full steps, or as an era variety, it can be worth much more. Collectors recognize the value of this coin, and that is why it remains an important and valuable part of the Jefferson nickel series. The 1963 D Jefferson nickel is more than just pocket change. It is a collectible piece of American history, and it is indeed a valuable coin that deserves your attention. Next up, the 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark is a coin that many collectors consider important, and while at first glance it may look like just another ordinary 5-cent piece, this nickel has real value in the world of numismatics. In this video, we are going to carefully explore the 1989 Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint, explain its history, production, mintage, design, collector demand, and all of the reasons why this coin is valuable. If you have a 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark in your collection, or if you come across one in circulation, you should know exactly why it can be worth much more than face value and why collectors actively seek it out. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, and it has been one of the most collected coin series in American history. The obverse features the left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse shows Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. This design lasted for decades and was still in place in 1989. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 896 million nickels that year, and those coins carried the P mintmark, which appears on the obverse to the right of Jefferson's portrait. With nearly 900 million coins minted, some might think the 1989 P Jefferson nickel is too common to be valuable. But mintage alone does not tell the full story. The real value lies in condition rarity, strike quality, era varieties, and collector demand. Most of the 1989 P Jefferson nickels went into circulation and saw heavy use. Circulated examples, which show whereon Jefferson's cheek, jawline, and the steps of Monticello, are usually only worth face value. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with sharp strikes and full luster, are worth far more. Collectors are always seeking mint state coins because they are much harder to find than worn pieces. The 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark becomes truly valuable when it is preserved in high-grade mint state condition. One of the key factors collectors look for in Jefferson nickels is the full steps designation. On the reverse of the coin, Monticello's staircase is often weakly struck. In fact, finding a nickel where all of the steps are clearly defined and uninterrupted is very difficult. For the 1989 P Jefferson nickel, full steps examples are especially scarce. When such a coin appears, collectors are willing to pay a premium. A nickel from 1989 with complete full steps is considered rare and valuable because it demonstrates both sharp strike quality and excellent preservation. Strike quality is another big factor. The Philadelphia Mint in 1989 was producing coins on a massive scale, and quality control issues often resulted in weakly struck coins. Many nickels from this year show soft details in Jefferson's hair and Monticello's design. A coin that displays a strong strike with crisp details and bold lettering stands out as exceptional. These strong strike examples are more valuable, especially when combined with mint luster and lack of contact marks. Era coins from 1989 also add significant value. The 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark has been found with various minting errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mintmarks, and clipped planchets. These era varieties are highly collectible and can make the coin much more valuable than a normal example. A dramatic off-center strike or a double die obverse with visible doubling on the lettering could turn an ordinary 5-cent coin into a prized collector's piece, worth many times face value. Collectors always search through 1989 P nickels with the hope of discovering one of these valuable errors. The history surrounding this coin also contributes to its significance. By 1989, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for over 50 years. And while many collectors focus on earlier dates from the 1940s and 1950s, modern issues like the 1989 nickel are becoming more appreciated as time passes. More than 3 decades later, high-quality 1989 nickels are harder to find because most have been spent and worn down. Every year, fewer pristine examples remain, which means the supply of collectible coins continues to shrink while demand remains steady. That combination makes the 1989 P Jefferson nickel more valuable to collectors. Eye appeal is another important aspect. A 1989 Jefferson nickel with beautiful original luster, minimal marks, and possibly even attractive toning, can be worth significantly more than one that is dull or spotted. Collectors place a premium on coins that not only grade highly, but also look appealing. That's why two coins of the same technical grade can have very different market values, because one has far better eye appeal. For the 1989 P nickel, finding a coin with vibrant luster and strong visual quality is difficult, and those examples are considered valuable. It is also worth noting that by 1989, the Philadelphia Mint was striking billions of coins annually across all denominations. The sheer speed of production often reduced strike quality, which is why coins with full steps and strong strikes from this year are scarce. Collectors are willing to pay more for those exceptional coins. This adds to the long-term value of the 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark. So why is this coin valuable? It is valuable because even though the mintage was high, condition rarity makes well-preserved examples harder to find. It is valuable because full steps nickels from this year are scarce and command strong premiums. It is valuable because era coins and varieties can be worth far more than standard issues. It is valuable because collectors who build complete Jefferson nickel sets need this coin, and they seek out the best examples. And it is valuable because over 30 years later, high-grade nickels from 1989 with the P mintmark are no longer common in circulation. For anyone who collects Jefferson nickels, the 1989 P issue is an essential part of a set. Even though it may not seem old compared to coins from the 1940s or 1950s, it is already over 3 decades old, and the supply of collectible examples is shrinking every year. That makes it increasingly valuable as time goes on. The Jefferson Nickels series is one of the most popular in U.S. numismatics, and the 1989 P Jefferson nickel plays an important role in completing that series. That is why the 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mintmark is not just another nickel. It may look ordinary, but in uncirculated condition, with sharp strike quality, full steps, or as an era coin, it can be worth far more than face value. Collectors recognize its importance, and that is why this coin continues to be valuable. If you find one in change, in a collection, or in a roll of coins, always take the time to look closely. You may have a valuable Jefferson nickel from 1989 with the P mintmark in your hands. Next up, the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is one of the most important and valuable coins in the Jefferson nickel series, and collectors pay close attention to it because of its history, its massive mintage, its varieties, and the challenges of finding high-quality examples. Even though hundreds of millions were produced, this coin remains valuable in the right condition. And in this video, we are going to carefully explore why the 1964 Jefferson nickel with a D mintmark deserves your attention, why it is valuable, and what makes it stand out more than 60 years after it was minted. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. By the time we reached 1964, the design had already been in circulation for over 2 decades, and the nickel was one of the most familiar coins in the United States. But the 1964 nickel is not just another date in the series. It is a special year in U.S. coinage history because of the coin shortage of the 1960s and the massive production numbers at the Denver Mint and the Philadelphia Mint. The Denver Mint struck over 1.7 billion Jefferson nickels in 1964, one of the highest mintages in the entire series. On the surface, such a huge number might make you think the 1964 D Jefferson nickel is common and not valuable. But collectors know that value is not only about how many coins were made, it's about how many survive in high quality, how many show sharp strikes, and how many exist with unique varieties or errors. That is why the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark remains valuable today. One of the reasons this coin is so well known is the full steps designation. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, the steps of Monticello are supposed to be sharply defined. But because of the speed of production and worn dies, most 1964 D nickels were struck with weak steps. Finding an example where the steps are fully visible and distinct is extremely difficult. These full steps nickels are scarce, and collectors pay a premium for them. In fact, A 1964 D Jefferson nickel with full steps can be worth far more than the regular example, making it a truly valuable find. Strike quality in general is a big issue for this coin. The Denver Mint in 1964 was under pressure to produce massive quantities of nickels due to the coin shortage, and quality control suffered. As a result, many coins show soft details, flat lettering, and weak Monticello designs. A sharply struck example with strong detail stands out as unusual and desirable. Collectors value these coins highly, and they are much harder to find than ordinary worn pieces. That scarcity is another reason why the 1964 D Jefferson nickel is valuable. Condition also plays a major role. Most 1964 D nickels were circulated heavily, and examples in worn condition are common and usually worth only face value. But uncirculated examples, especially those with original mint luster, clean surfaces, and sharp details, are worth far more. Mint state coins from 1964 with the D mint mark are not easy to find, because so many went straight into circulation during the coin shortage. This makes high-grade coins scarce and valuable to collectors who want to complete their Jefferson nickel sets. Another aspect that makes this coin valuable is the existence of era coins and varieties. The 1964 D Jefferson nickel is famous for having repunched mint marks, known as RPM varieties. Collectors actively search for these coins because the doubled or repunched D adds rarity and value. A repunched mint mark is a variety that occurred during the minting process when the mint mark punch was applied more than once, creating a visible doubling or shift. These coins are collectible and can be worth significantly more than normal examples. Other errors like off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, and double dies also exist, and any of these can make the 1964 D Jefferson nickel especially valuable. The historical context of this coin also adds to its importance. In 1964, the United States was facing a nationwide coin shortage, which led the mint to produce huge numbers of coins. To combat hoarding, the mint even decided to stop putting mint marks on coins starting in 1965. That makes the 1964 D Jefferson nickel the last Denver Mint issue before a temporary halt in mint marks, which adds historical significance. Collectors know that coins from this transition period are meaningful, and that is why the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is valuable. More than 60 years have now passed since this coin was struck, and time has reduced the number of well-preserved examples. Millions of coins have been lost, damaged, or worn beyond recognition. Every year, fewer high-grade 1964 D nickels remain available. That scarcity adds to the value of those coins that have survived in top condition. For collectors, this means that finding a nice example today is far more difficult than it was decades ago, and the demand continues to grow. Eye appeal is another major factor. A 1964 D Jefferson nickel with bright original luster, attractive toning, or exceptionally clean surfaces can be much more valuable than one with dull or spotted surfaces. Collectors want coins that are not only technically uncirculated but also visually appealing. This difference in eye appeal explains why two coins of the same grade can sell for very different prices. The 1964 D nickel with great luster and color is always going to be more valuable. So why is the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark valuable? It is valuable because of condition rarity, since mint state examples with strong strikes are hard to find. It is valuable because full steps examples are scarce and highly prized. It is valuable because era coins and repunched mint marks add collectible varieties. It is valuable because it represents the peak of mintage during the coin shortage era. And it is valuable because over time, fewer high-quality examples have survived. If you come across a 1964 D Jefferson nickel, do not overlook it. While circulated coins may only be worth face value, uncirculated coins, coins with full steps, and era varieties can be worth much more. Collectors know the value of this coin, and that is why it continues to be an important part of the Jefferson nickel series. The 1964 D Jefferson nickel is not just an ordinary nickel. It is a valuable piece of American coinage history, and it deserves a place in every serious collection. Next up, the 1987 Jefferson nickel with the D Mintmark is a coin that every collector should know about. And in this video, we're going to take a deep look at why this coin is valuable, what makes it important, and what collectors are searching for when it comes to this particular nickel. The 1987 Jefferson Nickels struck at the Denver Mint may seem at first like an ordinary circulation coin, but the truth is that it has a lot of history, collectible appeal, and potential value, especially when found in high grade or with rare errors and varieties. Many people overlook modern Jefferson Nickels from the 1980s, but the 1987 D Jefferson nickel stands out as one of those issues that can be worth more than face value, and in some cases, it can be a surprisingly valuable coin. The Jefferson Nickels series began in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, featuring the portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the front and his home, Monticello, on the back. By 1987, this design had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years. The coin was a workhorse of American commerce, and the Denver Mint struck millions of nickels in that year. Even though the mintage was high, collectors know that not every 1987 D nickel is equal, and that is where rarity and value come into play. When talking about value, condition is the first thing to consider. Most 1987 D Jefferson nickels were heavily used in circulation, so the majority today show wear, dull surfaces, and loss of detail. These common worn examples are not very valuable, but the story changes when you find a 1987 D nickel in mint state condition. Coins that never entered circulation, that still have full original luster, sharp strikes, and no significant contact marks, are valuable. Collectors pay attention to mint state nickels, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A bright, clean 1987 D Jefferson nickel with great eye appeal can easily be worth more than face value, and the best examples can bring strong prices from collectors. Another factor that makes this coin valuable is the presence of errors and varieties. Error coins are highly collectible, and the 1987 D Jefferson nickel is no exception. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die clashes, and double die varieties can all exist on coins from this year. Even small striking errors can make a 1987 D nickel worth many times its face value. Collectors actively search for these unusual coins, and when one surfaces, it becomes far more valuable than the regular issue. A repunched mintmark variety or a double die on the obverse or reverse could add substantial value, and that is why searching through 1987 D nickels is worthwhile for collectors. Strike quality also plays a role in the value of the 1987 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark. Not all nickels from the Denver Mint were struck with the same level of sharpness. Some coins have weak details, while others show strong, clear features. A well-struck example with sharp Monticello steps, defined lettering, and crisp details on Jefferson's portrait will be more desirable. Although full steps designations are not as common in the later decades as in the 1960s coins, the presence of clear steps on Monticello still adds collectible interest and value. Eye appeal is another major element of value. A 1987 D nickel with beautiful toning, brilliant luster, or attractive surfaces will always stand out compared to a dull or spotted coin. Collectors are willing to pay more for coins that are visually appealing, even if they are technically the same grade as another coin. That means two 1987 D nickels in uncirculated condition could sell for very different prices, depending on how they look. Attractive examples are always more valuable. The historical context of this coin also matters. By 1987, the Jefferson nickel had become a long-standing symbol of U.S. coinage. The coin shortage crisis of the 1960s was long past, and production had stabilized. But nickels from the 1980s are now considered vintage by many collectors. More than 35 years have passed since the 1987 D nickel was minted, and that passage of time has already started to make these coins more collectible. Coins from the 1980s are now old enough to be considered part of a new wave of collectible modern issues. That time gap adds to the value, since not every 1987 D Jefferson nickel has survived in nice condition. Collectors also know that coins from the 1980s often get overlooked because they are not as old as the nickels from the 1940s, 1950s, or 1960s. But that creates an opportunity. While many people ignore them, The collectors who pay attention are finding valuable coins from this decade, especially when it comes to high-grade examples and era coins. That is why the 1987 D Jefferson nickel deserves attention. It is valuable today, and it may become even more valuable in the future as supplies of nice coins continue to shrink. Think about how many of these coins were lost, melted, or simply worn out over the years. The U.S. Mint may have produced a large number in 1987, but millions have disappeared from circulation. Every year, fewer and fewer high-quality examples remain available. That scarcity drives value. A collector who finds a fresh, brilliant, mint state 1987 D nickel is holding something valuable, something that stands out from the ordinary. So let's bring all this together. The 1987 Jefferson nickel with the D mintmark is valuable for several reasons. It is valuable in mint state condition because most coins are heavily worn. It is valuable when it has attractive eye appeal and strong luster. It is valuable when errors and varieties are present, because those make the coin rare and collectible. It is valuable historically, because it represents a vintage coin from the 1980s, now more than 35 years old. And it is valuable because every year, fewer examples remain in high quality. For coin collectors, this means that the 1987 D Jefferson nickel is not just another common nickel. It is a coin that can carry value far beyond its face value. A coin worth searching for in rolls, in collections, and in circulation. Whether you find one with an error, one with brilliant luster, or one in gem mint state, you may have something truly valuable in your hands. The 1987 D Jefferson nickel proves that even modern coins can be valuable, and that collectors who pay attention to condition, strike, errors, and varieties can discover coins worth keeping. That is why this nickel deserves attention, why collectors seek it, and why it remains a valuable piece of American coinage history. Next up, the 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark is a coin that many people pass over without realizing that it has real collectible importance and potential value. In this video, we're going to talk in detail about the 1974 Jefferson nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which carried no mint mark, and explain why this coin is valuable, why collectors look for it, and why condition, strike, and errors make all the difference when it comes to determining value. The Jefferson nickel is one of the longest-running series in American coinage history, and the 1974 issue is a perfect example of how a coin that looks common can actually turn out to be a valuable collectible. The Jefferson nickel design was created in 1938 by Felix Schlag, and for decades it served as the standard 5-cent piece in the United States. On the obverse is a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and on the reverse is the image of his Virginia home, Monticello. By 1974, the coin had already been circulating for more than 30 years, and the design was instantly recognizable. But the details of individual coins matter to collectors, and the 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark stands out because of its production, its history, and the fact that high-quality examples can be surprisingly valuable today. In 1974, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels, all of them without a mint mark. Because the mintage was so large, many people assume the 1974 no-mintmark nickel is common and not valuable. But value in coin collecting does not come only from how many coins were struck. Value comes from how many survive today in excellent condition, how many were struck with sharp details, and how many carry unique varieties or minting errors. That is why the 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark remains valuable, even after decades of circulation. Condition is the first key to understanding value. The vast majority of 1974 nickels saw a heavy use in circulation. Most examples you find in pocket change today will be worn down, with Jefferson's hair details faded, Monticello's steps nearly gone, and the surfaces covered in scratches. These circulated examples are common and usually only worth face value. But when you find a 1974 no-mintmark nickel in mint state condition, fresh, uncirculated, with strong luster and no wear, it becomes valuable. Collectors will pay far more than face value for coins that still look the way they did when they left the mint. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes, and coins with exceptional surfaces and eye appeal are particularly desirable. Another reason this coin is valuable is strike quality. Many 1974 nickels were produced with worn dies or under less than perfect conditions, leading to weak strikes. Details on Jefferson's portrait often appear flat, and the steps on Monticello are rarely sharp. But when you find a coin with strong details, especially a coin where the steps on Monticello are clearly defined, it becomes much more valuable. Collectors call this the full steps designation, and nickels with full steps are far scarcer than those with weak strikes. A 1974 no-mintmark Jefferson nickel with full steps is valuable because it represents a true rarity among an otherwise common mintage. Era coins and varieties also add major value to the 1974 Jefferson nickel. Like other coins of the era, the 1974 issue can be found with double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and other unusual errors. These mistakes happen during the minting process, and collectors love them because each one is unique. A 1974 nickel with a dramatic off-center strike, or a strong double die, can be worth many times the value of a normal coin. Even smaller repunching or die break errors are collectible and add value. For that reason, collectors carefully check their 1974 no-mintmark nickels for anything out of the ordinary. Eye appeal is another important factor. A coin that is technically uncirculated but dull or spotted may not bring as much value as a coin that is bright, colorful, and attractive. Some 1974 Jefferson nickels have developed natural toning over the years, with shades of gold, blue, or violet. These toned coins can be highly desirable, and collectors may pay a premium for them. Eye appeal matters, and it is one of the reasons why certain 1974 nickels are worth more than others. The historical context of this coin also adds to its collectible value. By 1974, America was going through a time of economic challenges, including inflation and changing monetary policies. Coins from this era are part of that history. The Jefferson nickel was a reliable, everyday coin that millions of Americans used, but today, collectors look back and see the 1974 issue as part of the vintage modern coinage of the United States. More than 50 years have passed since this coin was minted, and that passage of time has already made it more collectible and more valuable, especially in higher grades. It is important to recognize that while the 1974 no-mintmark Jefferson nickel may have a high overall mintage, survival in pristine condition is what drives value. Millions of coins have been lost, damaged, or worn out. Every year, fewer examples remain in the kinds of grades collectors desire. That is why high-grade examples are valuable, and why collectors are always searching through rolls and collections to find them. To summarize, the 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark is valuable for several reasons. It is valuable when found in mint state condition, because most coins are worn. It is valuable with sharp strikes and full steps, because such coins are rare. It is valuable with errors and varieties, because those make each coin unique. It is valuable with attractive eye appeal, because collectors want coins that are both technically strong and visually beautiful. And it is valuable historically, because it is part of the long Jefferson Nickels series and represents a piece of American coinage from the 1970s. For collectors, this means that the 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark should never be overlooked. While a worn example may only be worth 5 cents, the right coin in the right condition can be worth much more. Whether it is a gem mint state example, a coin with full steps, or an unusual era variety, the 1974 nickel has real potential value. This coin proves that even modern nickels from the 1970s can be valuable collectibles, and that careful attention to detail can reveal treasures hidden in plain sight. The 1974 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark is truly a valuable coin, and it continues to be sought after by collectors today. That brings us to the end of this video, and as you can see, these Jefferson nickels are not just ordinary coins, they are valuable pieces of American coinage history that every collector should pay attention to. Whether it's an older Jefferson nickel with no mint mark, a Denver Mint issue, or a rare variety, each one has the potential to be worth more than face value. If you enjoyed learning about these valuable Jefferson nickels, I highly recommend you watch my previous video on the wheat penny, because wheat pennies are some of the most collected and valuable coins in U.S. history, and you don't want to miss it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss new videos about rare nickels, valuable pennies, and old coins worth money. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or questions about Jefferson nickels and wheat pennies, and let me know what coins you found. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions really help the channel grow, and I'll keep bringing you more valuable content about coins that could be hiding in your pocket change.